Welcome to this week's BitShares DEV Hangout. This recording is brought to you by the Beyond Bitcoin crew. We welcome all BitShares members to join us weekly and discuss the latest news, updates, and developments. If you'd like to participate in our next meeting, then please join us live on Mumble every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Did you know the Beyond Bitcoin show now has a registered delegate? Please consider voting if you find our Hangouts and recordings useful. The delegate name to vote for is fuzzy.beyondbitcoin. Again, that's fuzzy.beyondbitcoin. The Beyond Bitcoin crew would like to send out a big thank you to everyone who's already voted and allowing us the opportunity to serve the BitShares ecosystem and our valued community members. So once again, welcome and please enjoy the show.
Welcome everybody to another Beyond Bitcoin Hangout with Bytemaster from Cryptonomex. He is also the developer behind BitShares, he and his team. For those who are not familiar with the format, we open up with Bytemaster giving updates on any projects that he's working on and allow him to ask us questions about anything that he feels might be he needs community input on. And then we move to a community question and answer session. Since we're about 30, it's going to be about a 30-minute hangout today as opposed to the normal hour plus. I'm going to open it up now for Bytemaster, and then can we try to keep the community questions to maybe 15 or 20 minutes?
All right. I will give a brief update on where we are on our test nets. They've been going very well. We've been doing lots of internal test nets, primarily because it's easier for us to fix things internally, and we're still tweaking things. We want to make sure that when we involve the wider community, that we're really testing things at scale and that the wallet and everything else is mature enough for that. But we have some very good results from our testing. We've created a small network with about 4 computers in it, each computer producing as many transactions as it could, the bottleneck being transaction production. We were able to push through 500 transactions per second in this test. Once again, limited not by transaction processing, but by the fact that the wallet was making a lot of RPC calls during the creation of the transactions. So each wallet was limited to 150 transactions per second creation speed. That's something that could be resolved. A larger network with more wallets should be able to push more through. This network was running on small virtual machines with 2 gigs of RAM, very low power machines. And we were pushing all this through in debug mode, which those of you who aren't familiar with software, debug builds are usually about 10% the speed of regular builds. And we had full logging on, which also was slowing things down. This was pushing we used the same network code in Graphene that we use for BitShares. This was pushing that code to levels that we have never been able to push it with BitShares. And it performed reasonably well, but we identified several major optimizations that we've put in. And so now it's operating better than ever. So we've got over 95 test cases, and they are all passing. The code is relatively, it's stabilizing. I mean, we're tweaking things here and there, but with all the regression tests we have a high degree of confidence in the code. Vikram this week we have actual snapshot of BitShares working, and we're able to import and see our balances in the testnet, our internal testnets. So that's all going very smoothly. And on the forum, I posted a screenshot of the market GUI. The web guys are really picking up steam. They spent a lot of time getting the infrastructure of the wallet right, which meant that it was slow progress on actually getting the wallet to where it's at now, but now the speed's picking up because they've figured out their architecture and are rapidly adding new features. So that's the status there. We've been very busy. We will be working with the music guys, and so that's other thing that we're working on is BitShares music.
Have you heard anything from the guys over and girls over at Play?
We've talked to Play guys, and we're working with them to use it.
So they're also interested in Graphene as well, or is that
very much so?
Oh, good to hear. So for being the first share dropping tokens, they've received something quite beneficial.
Yes.
I hate to interrupt, but you were talking about the GUI interface. And I was reading on the forums that that's really where you think that you're going to begin focusing on, because it seems like you feel like you got most of the loose ends getting tied up, at the very least at present, on the back end. So the GUI interface, is that what you guys are really attacking next?
That is correct. The GUI interface, we actually have 2 GUIs under development now. One, which is being worked on by Nathan, which he's the one who built the Light wallet that we all used. And he's building the desktop client. And the other developers, about 4 or 5 of them, are working on the web client. So we expect that all this GUI stuff is going to be usable within the next 30 days as we work out kinks. We're working out the sign-up process, and there's just a lot of different pieces involved there, but it's very good.
So you're feeling like that's going well. Well, I've heard that running a full node under Graphene is going to be a lot less resource intensive. Do you have like a general idea of how much less?
Yeah, you could use probably 300 or 400 megabytes of RAM, assuming someone doesn't spam the network with tons of accounts. But if you're not tracking transaction history, which is an optional feature, and you're just trying to run a witness that's validating things as they come, it uses very little resources.
And is it going to be easy to set it up, or are you going to be able to like toggle certain things on, or how is that going to work?
We're trying to make everything as configurable as possible. So any features that are not necessary, you can turn off and save resources.
These are the things that I've been waiting for. Now, are you finished with your updates for the week, or do you have anything else that you haven't covered that you'd like to dig into for a second?
I can drop a hint that we've got a growing relationship with a major bank. So that's all I can say about that, but the banks are taking notice. Well,
that's a big piece of news. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to refrain from digging into that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. There is nothing else on your side, correct?
That's all I have. I'm here to answer any questions.
I've got a general question about brownie points, Bytemaster. I noticed in the forum this morning that there was somebody made a post about randomly distributing brownie points. I don't remember who. Buck Frankers, I think, was the one that had something in his signature about a program he wrote to randomly distribute brownie points. Well, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? If they're randomly distributed, the people that are diametrically opposed to you could get a hold of them, and then of course that doesn't exactly represent the people that are on your good side.
Well, they all started out with someone who was on my good side. If they want to give them away ferociously, then they can. And just if I gave someone money and they wanted to randomly distribute the money to people, it's their money once it's left my hands. So that's I view that.
Well, I understand it, but it does seem like it can defeat the purpose. But I also understand the philosophy of your giving. It's just it's terminal at that point, and whatever happens, happens. Let's hope people don't spread them to people that are basically BitShares enemies, but only BitShares fans.
I suspect BitShares enemies would just get rid of them rather than hold them. I just sell them for whatever they can get them for. So I'm not too worried about it. You either hold them or not. And I suspect most people that receive brownie points are holding on to them. But Who knows?
Okay, Data has a question regarding, well, I'll just ask it. He says, I've got a tough question, might not like it, might lose a brownie, but here it is. When someone is introduced to BitShares who has loved crypto since Bitcoin was $1 but hasn't followed it closely, in BitShares TV at about 3:30 time, you said, I never want to be in a position where I owe anybody anything. That's why I did donations. I wanted to be free to be able to disappear with the money. This statement was taken in a very bad light by an onlooker. Could you give some context for why you said that?
Because you cannot make promises in exchange for taking money. It's donations. Obviously, I'm promoting a contract-free society where reputation is what motivates people to do things and not threat of enforcing a contract through government courts, which means that legally speaking, they have to be gifts and I have to be able to walk away with it. But people give me the money because they know, hey, if I have money, what am I going to use it to do? I'm going to use it to pursue my passion, which is finding free market solutions to secure life, liberty, and property. And so it's really trying to express a way of interacting with people, which is open. It's trusting, but it's not creating obligations between people. If you give, and you don't hold on. You don't hold strings on the money you give, and that allows us to work better. There's nothing worse than feeling indebted to one person, let alone thousands of people. So it's really good just to have this open giving mindset rather than a obligation demanding mindset.
Well, the interesting thing to me about this as kind of a social experiment is LuckyBit. I don't know how many of you here who are here or are listening know about who LuckyBit is, but LuckyBit's been on the forums since very early on, and he often talks about the gifting economy. And I've found myself at times wondering if everybody created their own kind of tokens like this, and they could be exchanged, and there could be periods of time when you pop out and say, I've got some time on on the table. I'm willing to accept my token, and I'll do things to help you out with whatever the things that I'm good at that I can help you with. They would all have non-zero value, especially within our community. So have you ever thought about going deeper than just something like brownie points, where it's like social points that everybody individually holds?
I have, and I've got some great ideas for reputation systems and really expanding things to a whole new level. But as fun as it is to contemplate all those things, unfortunately, I have to focus on getting 2.0 out. So all I can say is we've got great things coming, and keep presenting ideas like this, because the gifting economy, everyone having their own version of brownie points, is a great way of keeping score in a non-binding kind of way. And that's useful for people. That's how we work as social animals. We want to make sure that we are giving as much as we receive, or giving more than we receive. And these are all just tools to help us do that.
And I will say this, there will be people, if this model is taken over and it begins like many people have their own tokens like this, there will be people who scam. I mean, that's going to happen. That's, it's going to be very interesting, all the different things that we figure out as we move forward with regard to voting and reputations and webs of trust in general. But speaking about that, there's another question here from Philly Guy. Is there going to be any kind of reputation system in 2.0 for witnesses and workers, etc.?
Yeah, not in 2.0. The reputation system is the voting system.
So is that going to be like a bare bones, and then it'll be built out kind of the same way that you're doing the exchange functions.
But yeah, the reputation is just the delegated proof of stake.
Do you mind if I get to a couple of these questions that have been posted to the threads in the forums?
Sure.
Hadrian says, it should be possible to produce a decent system for off-chain microtransactions. Transactions can be brought on-chain once the transaction value has stacked up. So that is a fee. So that the fee is not prohibitive. 1. Has the consideration gone into features of BitShares 2.0 transactions and account settings with this in mind? And 2, will Cryptonomex build a system for microtransactions to complement the BitShares blockchain in order to enhance its competitive edge? Bitcoin seems to be ahead in this area.
Well, maybe they seem to be ahead, but their technological lead. Most things in Bitcoin right now, particularly with micropayment channels, are very complex. It's trying to put square pegs in round holes. Everything they're doing could be implemented in BitShares at the protocol level in a week. So it's not a matter of Bitcoin being ahead, because they're not ahead in actually having it used. And that's what counts. So we've thought about it, and everything they're doing, I think we can do much better because our infrastructure and architecture is more conducive to doing that. Right? Everything Bitcoin has to do, they have to do as a series of inputs and outputs linking together with conditions and time delays. That is a very restrictive framework for building these types of things. And you might be technically able to set up a micropayment channel, but the complexity that you have to manage to do that almost makes it prohibitive. They need to do a lot of work to wrap all of that complexity into something that people can actually use and automate. Because if that complexity isn't automated, no one's going to use it. It requires people to have nodes that are online and paying attention so that they can detect when transactions go through and the other party broadcasts the transaction. So they've got a lot of really solid theory, but putting it into practice, they're farther away from that than we are.
I actually have one question that is somewhat in the direction of the bigger banks. It's not directly related to the tidbit of information you're giving us, but I do want to ask you, because of the current Greece situation, what do things like BitShares offer people in those jurisdictions where they actually have to be concerned about bank bail-ins and things like what's going on over there?
The foundation of all cryptocurrencies is a token that is not simultaneously someone else's liability. So you don't have to worry about a bail-in. The underlying token is what it is. It's accepted by the market. So all you have to worry about is market volatility. When the price goes down, that's like a bail-in. You're getting a haircut. But when the price goes up, you're making money. So what BitShares offers is the ability to speculate and gain leverage and gain stability. And that's what all cryptocurrency projects do, is they remove the need to trust someone, and they make it so that arbitrary changes to the rules are not the norm. The other thing they do is they offer you greater freedom. You can transfer anywhere, anytime. You control your money entirely with your own brain key if you like, and you can go anywhere in the world. That's something that none of these other financial institutions are doing. BitShares isn't going to wake up one day and find out that you can only move 50 BitShares per day. That's just not going to happen. Whereas the people in Greece are finding out that they can only access a small amount of their own money every single day. So that's what it offers the users. But the banks themselves are very interested in what blockchain technology can do to lower their costs. They want to see systems that have integrity, that are audit-proof, and that can leverage the cryptographic security and permission system that blockchains represent. So we're seeing that BitShares and the technology behind Graphene is leading the way in features that banks actually need and want. And that's why I said earlier, a major bank is interested in working with us.
Now, I'm assuming that this would be a type of system that would be slightly altered if a bank were to adopt it. They'd probably want their own chain. Is that assumption correct, do you think?
Well, banks want all kinds of different things. So many things are internal, many things are public. But what I have heard from several banks is they don't want Bitcoin and they don't want any other cryptocurrency that's extremely volatile. They can't deal with that kind of currency. That leaves us and Ripple as being the options that the banks are looking at, or some kind of custom solution. I suppose something like Next with their asset exchange and user issue tokens is also viable. So there's only about those players and maybe Ethereum someday, but banks also have the requirement of high transaction throughput. They can't use a system that isn't able to handle all the internal transfers or all the credit card transfers that goes on. They need something that's ready today. So generally speaking, I would say that BitShares and Graphene particularly are leading the way in the technologies that the big financial institutions actually want, and is the closest, at least public project, to meeting their requirements.
So this will protect users mostly from things like bail-ins. Do you think that the old statement that the decentralized exchange at a protocol level almost ensures fair trades as opposed to the market manipulation by high-frequency trading and naked shorting, do those still serve as strong benefits for those people especially?
With an open order book, everyone can see exactly what the orders are. They can see when the trades go through, and they make sure that all orders are settled. You don't have people trading with assets they don't have, which can happen on other exchanges. Of course, if you're trading IOUs, well, the issuer can create or may or may not have those IOUs, so you still have some trust there. But fundamentally, the exchange does final settlement with every trade, whereas other exchanges don't do that, which means that it's a lot harder to manipulate these markets because you actually have to acquire the asset first. You can't sell the asset that you don't have to manipulate the market. And that's huge. But there's still going to be people that use bots that don't place their orders in the order book. Instead, they have dark pools and they place their orders when they see something they want to buy, rather than having it sit there for advertising to the world. So there's going to be a mixture. You can do relatively high frequency trading, trading once every couple seconds on Graphene. So that's faster than most people can keep up with.
But it's not something.
But that's not really manipulation. That's just people thinking they have an algorithm that understands the market, and it's really just a high-tech version of gambling.
Well, there is, and please tell me if I'm incorrect here, but I did want to focus on this for people who are, because there's more than just one country that's facing Greece right now. My question really is, in the current situation, I can put a server right next to the New York Stock Exchange, right? And because I have that, I'm right next to it, and it's fractions of a second that I can be trading in fractions of a second. And not only that, but I can have the jump on everybody else who's further out in the connection, right? To the NYSE.
Yeah. In centralized services, whoever is closest could get the information faster. That's just the way the speed of light works. In our system, the center point moves with every block. And so it puts everyone on equal footing all around the world. But sometimes you will be, if you're the witness, you are the closest by definition, but you're not always the closest, which undermines most trading strategies that depend upon consistently being the closest.
Well, thank you for answering these questions, because I'd like to take a clip of this and actually post it with the Greece tagline. So I will be posting that, and I'll ask everybody to share it on Twitter. Real quick, T-Bone NYC says, so is the bank you referred to interested in BitShares or a custom Graphene implementation? Is that something you can answer right now, or?
I can't comment on anything.
No comments yet, T-Bone. All right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up. Does anybody have any final points? Bytemaster, do you have any final words until next week?
Not really. I think you guys are working hard. Appreciate the patience again. If you want to help out, we are very transparent with all the issues we're working on GitHub. So check it out there. Try to build. Help us find issues. If you see something you think you can fix, comment and say, hey, I'd like to tackle this issue. There will be brownie points awarded to anyone who helps submit any code patches or pull requests or even just finds bugs. Finding bugs is very important. Writing tests that find bugs is also important. So please help us in that way. We can never have too much testing, and I'm going to be distributing brownie points very much for a lot of them for any bugs found, tests produced, or code submitted. So please get involved in that way. And I'm really pushing to have a public test network out there as soon as possible. We will probably have a delegates only testnet designed for people who can handle the CLI interface sometime next week. We'd like to test the network infrastructure and the speed on a more distributed network than what we've been doing so far. But that won't be a test network for the average person unless you want to build the GUI yourself. But the GUI is not quite there yet. So,
well, sounds
that's
awesome.
all I have to say.
Just so everybody knows, I have a post up on the forum regarding our priorities. So I just want to let everybody know that I'm doing that because I'd like everybody to eventually we bring everybody in for a hangout where we can talk about maybe have them voted on in another thread after I compile all of the priorities from the community. And then we can maybe even reach in and have you guys help us develop some worker proposals so we can get people hired on to start doing some of the stuff that we want done. So that's just something to let you guys know about. I'm going to bump it here in a few minutes, but I want to let everybody know about that. Don't forget about the Null Street newsletter. This is the final one before Depot's Hub is going to be pushed out. Does anybody have any updates that they're wanting to give? Anything that I'm forgetting? No, that's cool. Tuck the man. BitLife Volume 0.2.0. A BitShares comic. I'm sure it will be wonderful. All right. If that's everything here, I'll go ahead and stop recording.